forgive your enemies, but never forget their names. The rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. We must find time to stop and thank the people who make a difference in our lives. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. Conformity is the jailer of freedom and the enemy of growth. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. Victory has 100 fathers and defeat is an orphan. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. If a free society cannot help the many who are poor, it cannot save the few who are rich. Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. We cannot negotiate with people who say what's mine is mine and what's yours is negotiable. One person can make a difference, and everyone should try. Do not pray for easy lives. Pray to be stronger men. A man may die, nations may rise and fall, but an idea lives on. Ideas have endurance without death. If we cannot end now our differences, at least we can help make the world safe for diversity. Change is the law of life. And those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss the future. Liberty without learning is always in peril. And learning without liberty is always in vain. Let us never negotiate out of fear. But let us never fear to negotiate. Mankind must put an end to war, or war will put an end to mankind. The time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. If not us, who? If not now, when? Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. I'm an idealist without illusions. Those who dare to fail miserably can achieve greatly. Art is the great democracy, calling forth creative genius from every sector of society, disregarding race, or religion, or wealth, or color. The ignorance of one voter in a democracy impairs the security of all. For in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air, we all cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal. The rising tide lifts all the boats. We need men who can dream of things that never were. A child miseducated is a child lost. Those who foolishly sought power by riding the back of the tiger ended up inside. I look forward to a future in which our country will match its military strength with our moral restraint, its wealth with our wisdom, its power with our purpose. The supreme reality of our time is the vulnerability of our planet. A boy spends his time finding a girl to sleep with. A real man spends his time looking for the one worth waking up to. There is, in addition to a courage with which men die, a courage by which men must live. Once you say you are going to settle for second, that's what happens to you in life, I find. The one unchangeable certainty is that nothing is certain or unchangeable. Tolerance implies no lack of commitment to one's own beliefs. Rather, it condemns the oppression or persecution of others. Immigration policy should be generous. It should be fair. It should be flexible. With such a policy, we can turn to the world and to our own past with clean hands and a clear conscience. Let us not seek to fix the blame for the past. Let us accept our own responsibility for the future. Children are the world's most valuable resource and its best hope for the future. There are costs and risks to a program of action, but they are far less than the long-range risks and costs of comfortable inaction. A nation reveals itself, not only by the men it produces, but also by the men it honors, the men it remembers. I was born an American, I live like an American, I will die an American. A nation that is afraid to let its people judge the truth and falsehood in an open market is a nation that is afraid of its people. If art is to nourish the roots of our culture, society must set the artist free to follow his vision wherever it takes him. If more politicians knew poetry and more poets knew politics, I am convinced the world would be a little better place in which to live. Just because we cannot see clearly the end of the road, that is no reason for not setting out on the essential journey. The ancient Greek definition of happiness was the full use of your powers along lines of excellence. So let us begin anew, remembering on both sides that civility is not a sign of weakness and sincerity is always subject to proof. Every accomplishment starts with the decision to try. Time and the world do not stand still. Change is the law of life. Great crises produce great men and great deeds of courage. When power corrupts, poetry We should not let our fears hold us back from pursuing our hopes. Things don't just happen. They are made to happen. They follow the Hitler line. No matter how big the lie. Repeat it often enough, and the masses will regard it as the truth. We must use time as a tool, not as a couch. The greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds.